Good evening, everybody. Welcome to welcome to the Conant Show, WATV, Woodstock, public access. And as always, I'd like to thank Paula Gloria Barton for teching for me and helping make this show seemingly seamless. And I just want to get you all out there interested in the fact that our TV station still needs tender, loving care. So if you care about your local access TV and original content from original content providers, give the town board a call and let them know that you'd like to see some new equipment in here, and maybe we could do something about that. And actually, I had a nice chat with Carrie, our selectman. Is that his?
Muldoon, I think, her last name. Town supervisor.
Our town supervisor is Secretary Carrie Muldoon. We had a nice chat the other day when I was dropping off my CD to go to rotation in our week throughout the week. The programs here go through rotation cycle with the equipment here, and so you can get to see anybody's show, a couple times a day through the week, so that everybody has a chance to see what's going on. And we talked about the budget, and the town board really does support our TV station here in a big way, and the beautiful facility, and they pay the bills for the heat and the light and all that good stuff. And I brought up the subject of the equipment, and Carrie had a very, very kind of a profound answer, which was, well, Time Warner looked at everything and said, boy, this stuff is, 90% of it's obsolete, and it's just, really needs to be replaced and upgraded to more modern standards and simplified. And and my response to that was, well, great, let's do it. and Carrie indicated that, we're at the end of this year and at the beginning of next year, it kind of will become more of a focus, that they're kind of wrapping up the town business for 2016. So that's kind of the latest that I have as a kind of a pulse of how the town and our public access TV station are moving forward into 2017. So let's hope we have some advancement there. We have one camera left, so we're kind of like a tricycle now. All right, and I'd like to introduce Susan Saxman, and locally known as Fiona.
Hello.
The reluctant psychic, and welcome to Conant Show.
Thank you very much, George. Good to be here.
Yeah.
I've just come back from being in New Zealand and Australia, which is a very long way from here, by the way, and that was kind of exciting. Very different from Woodstock, but kind of cool, very cool, very beautiful.
I have a question
Yes.
for you. How did you get there?
I got there because somebody in New Zealand, a woman, had read my book, and for some reason it's extremely popular. My book, The Reluctant Psychic, my memoir.
Hold it up and hold it
my
still.
memoir.
Put it right.
That's my memoir.
Yep, there you go.
And it's available in the bookstores in town. The Golden Notebook has it in softcover. I'm selling it on my website, and Mayberry has it. Barnes & Noble has it too. But anyway, a woman in New Zealand had read it and loved it. And apparently it's very popular in New Zealand and Australia. And she called me and said, would you please come here and do readings and do lectures? And I did. And I spent 2 months there. And New Zealand is an incredibly beautiful country. I even went to where Lord of the Rings was filmed.
Oh, wow.
Which was really cool.
So what I was really kind of wondering wasn't so much that, was like, how did you get there by airplane?
How did I get there?
You fly?
No.
Did you fly or take
I would
a
like
ship?
to say that I just, transported myself there in an astral way, but no, I actually went on an airplane, and New Zealand Air, and it was a 24-hour flight.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So it was one way?
No, I went to California, and then I had to take another 8-hour flight. It's an 18-hour. Oh God, it was so long. It took a day to fly there. And
How
plus
many
I
connections
lost a day.
was it?
There was only 2 connections.
All right, so you went to L.A.?
LA, and then another
LA
from
to-
LA. There was an 18-hour flight to New Zealand,
Wow.
Auckland. Yeah. So I somehow I lost a whole day of the Earth, like time. October 3rd disappeared for me. I went from October 3rd to November 24th.
Now, whenever I
Disappeared.
fly, I always look out the window.
Oh, I did too. I looked out the window the whole time. It was great.
Yeah.
And yeah,
What
it
kind,
was.
did you see any phenomenon, or did you see anything interesting?
Just,
or
I always
beautiful, or-
expect it was beautiful, but I always expected to see like a gremlin or something hanging on the airplane.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
from, you know what I'm talking about. But I didn't. It was a very long ride. Got there, and it was. I think I could write another book by my experiences there. It was more of a work trip than a vacation for me, though.
yeah.
And but it was really cool going to Australia and seeing my book on the bookshelves in Australian bookstore. And I actually had to go up to the people and go, "I'm her. That's me." And they're like, "Whoa." One of the biggest events when I was there, which was really quite funny, is I got myself on a major TV show called the Paul Henry Talk Show, and he's watched by like 3 million people. And it kind of went viral because of something I said to him just by accident. I came up with something that I wouldn't have known about him.
Oh, I see.
And it went viral, so it just was kind of funny. I told him something about Arkansas. I told him basically that he's a really gruff British man, and I said, "Paul, people don't like you." I said, "But you have a heart as big as Arkansas." Then I was like, "Why did I say Arkansas?" And then I said, "Well, Paul, you're take off your clothes. You like to be free." And he's like, "I'm a nudist." And then it turns out that he had a girlfriend in Arkansas or something like that. And so anyway, that whole little clip went crazy on the internet. So people were like, "Is she real? Is she the real thing?" Basically, I have no filter left, so I just say whatever comes into my head. And sometimes that gets me into trouble. So sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. So that's why my book is called The Reluctant Psychic. I don't know what I'm picking up, but I pick up something, and I've been doing it for like 30 years. So stuff comes.
See, now I've always been fascinated with the unexplainable
Me
myself.
There's a lot of unexplainable.
My childhood experiences were full of the strangeness of reality, or as some people call it, high strangeness. One early memory is still being in like a playpen, a crib thing, and it had like these bars. I felt like you're a little kid and you're in this playpen box, which was really just to keep you out of mom's hair while she's ironing.
Yeah.
And I remember the carpet being this expanse of green. Everything was huge, and chairs were big, and tables were big. So that's how little I was. And the experience I had was these energies came into the room.
Oh wow!
Right, these like pillars of light, and there were 4 of them. There's like a green, a red one, a yellow one, and another color.
You should.
Purple, perhaps.
May I say you really should read my books? We had something very similar going on.
So these 4 energies came in as these like pillars of light, but they had a message.
Yeah.
And the message was really remarkable. And I remember it, 57 years later. I still remember this very clearly. And the first one says, a telepathic kind of a communication, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
That everybody comes into the world with gifts. Some have more of this, and some have more of this. But we all come in with the magic. All right, we all come in with gifts. And then the next one says, and we're here to practice our gifts and exercise our gifts. And then the third one says, and whatever you do, don't squander your gift. Don't use it for personal gain. Don't use it for frivolous things. When you want to really develop your gift, you don't want to, waste it on material things. And then the last one says, and the reason that you want to practice your gift and not use your gift is you're saving that gift, you're saving that magic and that energy for when you really, really need it.
Oh, I like that.
Because everybody at some point in their life will be challenged by the dark side.
Absolutely.
And that's called the challenge.
Yeah.
And in order to
I
meet
agree.
that challenge, you have to have the energy and the wherewithal and your medicine or your magic to overcome the challenge.
Wow. Because what? That's
So
really
that
cool.
started me,
Yeah.
on a certain kind of a thought train that never left. And it put question in my mind about everything, because here are these very powerful beings that only appeared as like a shaft of light in the room.
Do they come more than once?
Nope,
I'm just curious.
just once. That was the only time.
Because in my, I actually talk about it in my book. When I was a really little child, I would have 3 come. They look, honestly, to be honest, they look like Ewoks or those things from, not the sand creatures from Star Wars. They were like these little hooded creatures that stood at the
Right.
foot of the bed. They didn't have light coming from them, but they were always at the foot of my bed when I was very, very small, like 2, 3, 4, and I remember them. And they never really had a message. I just would look, acknowledge them, and then go back to sleep.
Huh.
And I wrote about it. And I actually, one of the first lines in the book is, I remember being about 2 or 3, pretending to be a child, saying, okay, how do children talk? Don't let them hear your adult voice. Because, by the time normal kids, not like us, George, get to be about 7 or 8, we're told there's nothing, no magic, there's no monsters in your closet, there's nothing that, there's no fantasy. I still believe there is, and I think there could be monsters in your closet and under your bed. And sometimes the monsters are other humans that you meet along the way.
Well, that's a feeling that I've had, is that ghosts are one kind of a issue, or discarnate,
That's right.
or extra-dimensional beings, but then there's the ones that still have their meat sack.
Yep.
Yeah, and
The old
they
meat
can
sack.
they can be more problematic in the immediate
Yes, they
sense.
can. The real monsters are not the monsters.
Yeah. However, I'm really becoming more and more fascinated and concerned with the qualities of life that you cannot see or taste or measure directly, and that's getting into the realms of electromagnetic radiation and microwave radiation. But it's, our thoughts are energy.
Yes,
As
they are.
well. So the quality of our thoughts can have an awful lot to do with the quality of the outcome of our day, or of our
I
elevation
agree.
of the quality of our life. And I know right now a certain person that's suffering that can't get there because of the attack
The attack
that
that's
she's
coming.
under.
Yes.
There's that
Absolutely.
kind of a thing.
And it becomes palatable. It becomes something, it almost like becomes a thought form, like a true monster that's made of thoughts that keeps attacking.
Yeah,
If people keep sending negative thoughts out.
absolutely.
And that's just heartbreaking.
And it's a kind of a waste of time and energy.
It's a
in
waste
in a
of
big
time.
way, because we could be doing so much better
And
with
if
that.
people
with
were
that
smart,
energy.
the people who are sending out the bad thoughts too are idiots, because they're wasting their energy too. Energy can't be destroyed; it could just be changed, and change the bad energy for good.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that we live in a time when there's petty grievances, there's grudges, there's jealousy, and all this stuff is holding people back. And the world's rather scary right now when you think what's coming. The big orange thing on the horizon,
Yeah.
kind of scary. So we all have to stick together right now.
Now, when
know?
you're talking about the big orange thing on
You
the
know who I mean, the Trump.
oh,
That's a whole nother thing.
yeah, I'm still a little bit on the fence about Trump.
Maybe we need the chaos.
Well, here's why I like them. I like them because everybody hates them, left, right, and center.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The right doesn't like them, the left doesn't like them, and he said a few things that I kind of agree with, and he said, but the proof is in the pudding. He may not have the mandate to be effective or do anything, and unfortunately now I didn't vote. I haven't voted for my own reasons since I think Ronald Reagan, 1980. And when Reagan got in, I was very disappointed and never voted again. But that's not the reason I don't vote. I don't vote because if I want to exercise indigenous rights to North America, I cannot participate with
and I completely respect
that governance of a system. Yes. And then that's one reason. The other reason is that we don't have a credible electoral system anymore. Paper ballots were questionable enough in the voting machines, but you have to be able to vet each vote and count it, and physically, the physical paper ballot was something that was you could monitor that. But now we have these electronic voting machines, digital voting machines that programmers who worked on these devices have testified. I've seen some great YouTubes of these guys testifying to Congress. They're programmable. they flip votes to the percentage, and it's always a very close race. You see, and that's how they parse it. So they make it so that it's just almost within the margin of error, so that, it's a very close race. Well, and they can swing it one way or the other, and who's to say what is real?
I'm not a big fan of technology. As I sit here in a TV studio in front of a microphone, I'll say that. I think even the Wi-Fi is affecting what's going on up here, what's around us. And, it's hard not to be... I saw a teenager the other day on a skateboard with a cell phone in her hand. And that's common, I guess. People crossing Tinker Street with cell phones in their hands. It's just too much, But once again, what are we to say? I just know that what I do as a profession, I'm reading energy from people. And the energy, especially in the past 5 years, has been strangely askew, shall we say, because of the there's so much more technology and internet and Wi-Fi and all that around. I think it affects everyone and everything. Probably affects spirits too.
Now that gets into some really, really interesting thoughts, because there's some great channeled books, some of the authors that are out there, Barbara Hand-Clow, Marciniak, Jane Roberts, the Seth books, Carlos Castaneda, and the Teachings of Don Juan. Yeah. And what's really, you're bringing up something really quite important, and that is what the physiological effects are from all this microwave radiation, and that's something that I don't mean to be belaboring in the past couple of shows and then this show as well, but microwave ovens, computer screens, cell phones, digital meters, smart meters are impacting our physiology, our brains, our nervous systems, and our emotions and thoughts. And we are bioelectrical animals, bioelectrical creatures. Yep. And that frequency that we operate on, each of us has like a fingerprint of our own frequency as a spirit. Right? So your spirit has a sound, it has a vibration, it has a song, it has a rhythm. And each of us come into this earth walk, and our material bodies are expressing that which it contains, I'm not quite really sure how one would term how the soul functions in the body, or if it's functions from within and
from,
without, you know, from the eternal to the temporal. But we're on this stage here, and where was I going with this?
The Wi-Fi, the energy.
I guess what I'm talking about is responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, a responsibility of our population are to address the health concerns of this new tech. It's not even really. It's not that it's new technology. These radio waves are eternal. They exist as cosmic noise. You know, you get gamma radiation.
Yep.
All kinds of radiation, particles that come off the sun, waveforms that come off the stars, and different things. And there's always, you know, microwaves or these kinds of background radiation that we live with. But now we're being saturated with this energy. And I know for myself in the past year, there's a variety of reasons for this, but every morning at about 6:30, 7 o'clock, I have a tightness in the chest and intense anxiety.
God, I do too at the same time.
And
What's going on?
And I can't, you know, really say that it's not a stress in my life that I'm, you know, conscious of and dealing with. It could be that, or it could be a combination of that and the microwaves.
Do you wake up at that time every morning? I do too. 6:30. Wake up right on the dot with extreme anxiety.
Yeah.
That's really strange. I haven't heard of another person doing that. I'm sure they
are.
I'm sure they're out there. You do too.
Yeah, and there's...
Wow, that time.
You know, there could be this group...
Wow.
Group reality, or a group think, a group
consciousness.
A
group consciousness.
One expression of that is when you see a flock of blackbirds and they all turn at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, that, there's some really great pictures of grackles and blackbirds, and they move as one, or fish, schools of fish, and they all... How is it that the one over on the left and 100 meters away, the one... and they all turn at the same time?
It's interesting because it's exactly, my clock says exactly 6:30 when I wake up, and my heart's pounding like this, and I'm laying there thinking, okay, I might be dying now. Oh well, you know, that kind of feeling, like exactly the same thing every morning.
And the thought that I'm having here is when Mount St. Helens blew.
Yeah.
Was it 20 years ago already? I don't know when that went, but it's already been a decade, I think. When the animals in the region evacuated themselves about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the blast, or even a month or two ahead of they knew they'd pick it up through their hooves on their feet, or through the vibration of the earth, or maybe the trees were communicating with them. Hey, this, you know, got to get out of here. And so there is this species-wide knowledge. And, you know, maybe that's what we're experiencing. So any of the viewers out there, if you have a early morning anxiety attack, you can
join the club here.
You know, just you can always report it here if you want.
Report it, and you're part of the herd here. Because I thought and you know what? I even had it when I was in New Zealand and Australia. Even though the time was drastically different, I was one day behind, I think. Still, every morning at 6:30, I'd wake up.
I have a phenomenon that made me kind of laugh, and that was I've lived with a wood stove most of my adult life, probably 30 years. I've always operated a wood stove, and you get into a pattern of getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the wood stove I was using for the longest time, trained me to get up at 3 in the morning and put wood in the stove, and it's also a good opportunity to relieve myself and then go back to bed. And I get a kick out of this, is that even we go through the daylight savings time business, and for whatever reason I can't explain, my body knows the hour difference, and I still get up at relative 3 o'clock in the morning.
Dog sense. Dogs have that. They know what time things happen when they're supposed to. They meet people at the schoolyard. They can't tell.
So tell me something else that maybe you experienced as a child or
Oh
in
my
life?
God.
Something that
It's horrific, and it's all in the book.
it's horrific.
No, it's horrific. I was visited, well, when I was much younger. I would actually see spirits, solid. Now,
Okay.
of course, you know, I'm thinking at the time that I didn't know what this was, and maybe I'm just, you know, hallucinating things, but I saw things. Now I just see them as more of like a quick flashes in my head. And then when I do readings with people, it's more like not really seeing it, but okay, I don't see dead people or spirits or the energy. I feel it, and it's always from the back of my head. Now, I know that may sound insane to people who don't understand this sort of thing, but that's always how it's been with me. And I, as you know, you probably do know, I don't advertise. People just come to me from all over, and that's how it's always been.
Now that's interesting. You say the back of your head.
The back of my head. It's like something opens back here, and I get the visions back here, not up here.
My Cree friends call that the knower.
Really?
That there's the Cree, my Cree friends
Are they Native American?
talk about
Really?
listening to the back of your head.
Never heard
that's
that
where
before.
the
How cool
knower
is that?
is. And
Knower.
I always kind of laugh at myself because I get ideas and you know, cerebral kind of front of the head ideas and
Wow.
and I'll be, you know, going along thinking that this is a good thing, but then it's as though I get hit in the back of the head.
Yeah.
You better turn left, don't turn right, and I'll go ahead and I'll turn right and really regret it. And I said, why don't I listen?
Interesting.
Why didn't I listen to myself? You know, I wish I had a more fun example than just an idea
Oh, I'm
like
sure
that.
you do.
But
you know, most
it
people
happens
feel the guts,
throughout
too.
life. You know, you get
But I get it in the back of the head, not even the guts.
a gut feeling.
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's the back of the head for me. It always has been.
Yeah. How about the heart chakra? How about that business?
My heart's just totally could explode from my chest. It's always boom, 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 boom. You know, and then I feel things immediately when I meet people. So, you know, and that's kind of what a reading is, I guess. You know, and sometimes I'm wrong about things for myself, but that's how it always has been. I can't tell things for myself or anyone really close to me. So once you become a friend of mine or get close to me, can't do a reading for you anymore because it's wishful thinking on my part.
Right.
I want the
That's
best
it.
for my friends and the people that I love, so I can't do readings for them. It's not pure information.
It colors.
Gets colored.
It gets
It
colored.
gets colored by my best wishes for them. The intentions get changed, but it's best when I know people not at all, and they just come and I just say. And of course, with my sessions with people, I have them record everything on their cell phone, so they have, you know, a record of it. And maybe it doesn't mean anything right away, but then I hear that, wow, what you told me a year ago, now I understand it. So I had this theory, and this is getting into even weirder places. It's sort of quantum physics, but I can't really explain quantum physics. Past, present, and future are all happening at once.
Sure.
That's why I can do predictions. And the predictions could be they could be a year off. But I'll see something in the back of the head again that says, like, well, the spring will bring you this. It may not be the spring of the year coming, it might be the spring of the next year, but I'm seeing it as though it's already happened. So it's like I'm tuning into a place where it's already a reality. And I know that has something to do with quantum physics. I could not explain quantum physics if I had to. I don't know if you can. You probably can, but
No, not
we don't
really.
have to.
I mean, I have a
we have an idea.
broad
It's some kind of
stroke
science. I'm
ideas.
actually at a point right now where I think that what I'm doing is part science and part spirituality. It's not fully either or, but I can't
Well,
really explain either.
That's why I started touching upon those some of the great channel material
Yeah.
that came out through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and the 2000s.
Yeah.
This past 40 years has been an explosion in people's consciousness opening up to a wider dimension of awareness. And the idea, the Seth material, Jane Roberts
Mhm.
material, often talked about what you're talking about, how the past and the present and the future are really not linear. They're all simultaneously operating from a transdimensional point of view, from the God consciousness point of view.
Yes.
And what we do in our now can change our past and alter the future.
Yes.
Because it's simultaneous. And so the me as a medieval knight or as a native warrior or whatever it was in some dynamic has a parallel to the now.
Yes.
And all of that is happening.
I agree.
And that's why it is important to be truthful in one's life, because that is how we elevate our condition. And that condition is elevated through all the past, present,
all the
future.
dimensions.
So that's where our responsibility of the now is how do you make our now the best possible now? You know, and that comes down to the truthfulness of your thought, action, and deed.
Be aware and be conscious. I think that's the only way to be, really. You know, just be aware of what you're saying. Words have there's strength in words.
Sure, they're powerful.
Words are extremely powerful, and words could stay with people forever.
Often do.
They do. And it's I remember in the past, before I went away, I had a woman came to see me who was, she seemed very much of a normal type of woman. Nothing extraordinary was going on with the reading, but she was sitting across from me, and as I was doing the reading for her, I saw the whole room started spinning. And I'm sitting there saying, to myself, I'm not going to mention anything about this to the woman because, obviously I must be having some kind of stroke or, hallucination or something. I'm just going to let this pass. And all of a sudden she looked up at me and said, "Do you see the room spinning?" So she was aware of it too. But it's sometimes I find confirmation from the most unusual people, like people you would never think believe in any of this. Yeah. And all of a sudden, especially since my book came out, I've been getting a lot of psychologists, people who work on neurologists, neurosurgeons, people who are really into like brain things coming to see me. A whole different group of people than there used to be. So it's kind of interesting, don't you think?
Well, that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
What if you can share any of this without breaching any confidentiality or anything, what's drawing this rarefied group of people to you? Is it from the book? I
think it's from the book. I did get Eben Alexander, who wrote Proof of Heaven, who is a neurosurgeon. He gave a endorsement on the cover of the book, and I think that's attracting a lot of people on the hardcover. He wrote that, but I think that's made a lot of people. When it first came out in 2015, he was endorsing it. He really loved it, but I think that has attracted a whole group of people who would not necessarily read a book about anything psychic. And it's funny because when it first came out, I told them at St. Martin's Press, I said, please don't put it in the New Age section. Don't stick it back with the New Age. Put it in the memoirs and the biographies. They kept putting in the New Age, and I kept going into Barnes & Noble and moving it myself into the memoir section. Because I thought, hey, it's a job. It's a story of a person that has an unusual job. It's not how to be psychic. It's just a story about, this is my life doing this kind of work. So that's what's in it. But, it's been interesting. It's certainly opened up the world to me, literally.
Mm. So this past year has had a lot of anxiety for a lot of people.
Yes. And
one of the things that this channeled material also brought out was this sort of history of humanity, the galactic history of humanity. And
it's happening now, isn't it?
And our galactic history is unknown to unknown to all of us, really, as humans. And I'm trying to think what was the name of the book? 'Cause I'd love to drop that title for people to look at. But anyway, the idea here is there are various ancient cultures, like the Lyrians, and then there's this group in the Orion constellation, and there's represented in our DNA are various human types from their different galaxies and planetary systems and such, and that we kind of came to Earth as a soul energy, not necessarily in physical bodies, trying to escape their spiritual technologies. And this channeled information went on and on about how they had these grids with satellites and such around planets that would trap the souls to keep them from going back to the source, and then sort of rebroadcasting the soul energy back into another incarnation on a planet, so that the cycle would be very difficult to escape. They didn't. The controllers of these various technologies were very determined, to lock things down. Very draconian.
That's very interesting.
And I'm feeling that this is where we're moving with the United States, with this G5 network rollout that's going on. I don't know if you know anything about this.
Not much.
Well, apparently it will be the greatest infrastructure development in the United States since the Great Depression. The WPA, the big workforce, that all the highways got built, and they put people to work for $5 an hour, or 3 cents an hour, whatever it was. That was their solution to building all this infrastructure, all these highways. Well, now they're talking about a spectrum of frequencies, high frequencies, radio frequencies, that had been off limits. And I think they had been off limits because they were untested. But that's not what I was thinking. My thought is they were off limits because they're dangerous to our biology. But they've gone ahead and decided to use this range of frequencies because a lot of money can be made. That was what the the video I was just watching before you got here was a YouTube, and the FCC chairman, what's his name? Paula, do you remember?
His name is Tom Wheeler.
Tom Wheeler.
Tom Wheeler gave a $700,000 contribution to Obama, and a month later was appointed the head of the FCC.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a conflict of interest there.
But remember, on the video it also said it took the cooperation of local government, and could I interject something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I don't know the psychic that we have on here, maybe she can tune in.
Sure.
In the middle of the summer, I had this hit that our town supervisor should jump into the mill stream at a certain spot where the stones come together, and that his physical problems would be healed, that it would be a type of making peace with Mother Nature, because there's so much overlay of this corporate state with all this technology. And I just found out yesterday that our town supervisor was the first person to volunteer for a smart meter. And then I was talking to a chiropractor, very, very talented one, explaining this to him, who knows a little bit about free energy devices and so on. And he said to reach out to him, and I didn't want to go even to the supervisor's secretary because I thought I'll sound like a lunatic. Either he'll get the police to give him the privacy that he needed. Oh yeah, he had to be stark naked too, of course, in this vision. But now I'm feeling, and then if he didn't, I don't know, it's just kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But here I have this opportunity, since you don't know me. Yeah. How do we reach out to our town supervisor right now, Jeremy Wilbur, who's suffering from cancer, I understand. I've been told by Jesse Jones, who's the town techie, that the reason we can't get technical support here on Woodstock TV is because of this impending death. At the same time,
I think you could have to do it with your mind. You can't go and talk to him about this in person.
Just
I think
on TV.
I mean, I wouldn't either. Even if, I think it has to do with just the intention of the thought, sending the image actually of him going to the mill stream. If you want to picture him naked going into the stream, and doing that kind of healing on himself. And raising his consciousness, it's sort of like healing from afar. We have to all kind of wish that could happen to him. I'm not sure he's going to be healed, but we could at least put it out there. Because there's some things you just can't tell people. They're just not going to.
Well, I don't know what you think about smart meters.
I don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't like them. I live among them, and I get migraines constantly.
And you think they're from them?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm on migraine medicine but it's there's stuff in the air coming to us too. I mean, and especially when you work. I was going to say when you work with your mind. I guess everyone should work with their mind, but not everyone does. But I mean, it's like I'm getting stuff in all the time.
And this is the next concept that's described in some of this channeled material. It's called a frequency net.
Yep.
So there's a frequency net that they actually trap souls with the spiritual technology, and then there's a frequency net that they control our thoughts with. And I love my Facebook page because people post some of the most interesting things. It's more interesting than watching regular news or TV.
I'm sure it is.
It really is.
Probably more truth too.
There was this great little clip of a high school basketball game recently in some town somewhere, and the camera pans from the basketball game to the audience, and you see all the young people looking at their cell phones. Almost everybody.
That to me is scary. That's what The Walking Dead is. That's the real Walking Dead. The humans, us now. The people with the cell phones. That's what the zombies. The zombies are us. We're here.
I remember a day that the laptops took over, and I had this good friend, Peter Martin, who was a mathematician, retired mathematician, and he had worked for a couple of big corporations and maybe a university or two. And we would get into these lively conversations at this local coffee shop in Millerton, New York. And it was human-to-human conversation. And everybody did it, and I would go to the coffee shop and have breakfast, and that's where I would pick up work. And, other construction dudes out there, hey, George, can you give me a hand with this? Or, I would meet a customer that was looking for somebody, and it was that was like my office, and people talked to each other with a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and a little snack, and we'd talk to each other. And then it was almost like one day I go into the little coffee shop, and nobody's talking to each other anymore. They're with these laptops, looking at a screen, and
not cool.
It really it impacted me. It was a real this stuff happens quickly. This happens quickly. You think invisibly it's being built up to, and then in a matter of very few months, really, we went from talking to each other to now there has to be an LED screen in front of us to talk to anybody.
Yeah, it's like a technical invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, It's like everyone's just turning to their screen all the time. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's why even books are going out of style. Everyone's reading books. Not everyone. They're reading Nooks.
Right.
Like the books on the electronic.
Right.
Hey, I want to feel a real book in my hand, But that's just me. I don't know.
Many are like you.
Yeah, you think there are others?
Yeah, there is, and I much prefer reading a real book than I do reading a screen. A screen hurts my eyes, it hurts my head. I do it because I have to.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting for me is like a generation younger than me. I have a friend in Connecticut, musician, techie kind of a fellow, and he can't read paper. He can only read off a screen.
How interesting.
So it's gone the other way for him.
Wow.
Because he was brought up with the screen, which is where we are today, is fewer and fewer young people, kind of really know how to crack a book open. And that's kind of alarming in a thought, because books are a written medium.
Yeah.
And you just can't, change them. Whereas if you go online and you look up, say the Constitution of the United States, or you look up a famous book like George Orwell's 1984, that electronic version can be edited electronically.
You're right.
Because that's the way it is. I have a great story. I don't know if you're up for this.
Yeah.
But I met a fellow on the Indian reservation up at Akwesasne, Mohawk Nation territory, Joe Cavello. And Joe Cavello had the only pizza shop on the Nation territory up there because he married in. And how that happened was very funny, because I needed some work, and my friend Gwen Frost says, go see Joe Cavello. He'll give you the shirt off his back. He always needs work over at his house. And so I knock on his door, and I told him, hey, I was sent over here, and you might need some help. And now he was an elder. He was retired, from his pizza shop, but he decided that he liked me, and I got some work. I fixed up his place for him and fixed a hole in the roof and this kind of thing. And so he gets to talking to me one day over a coffee and a sandwich, and he goes, I'm a retired criminal. And I said, really, Joe? And he goes, yeah. I want to tell you how I got to here. And he goes, it was 1953, and the cops was after me, and so was the Philadelphia mob. And as I was running up the highways and the cops were chasing me, I noticed that when I came across the border to the Mohawk Reserve, the cops stopped. So he stopped because he was tired.
That's funny.
And he was in a local coffee shop, and he got to talking to one of the people there, and it turns out that they explained to him, well, they don't have jurisdiction here. And he goes, really?
Cool.
So he ends up meeting a young lady there, and they get married, and so now he's a resident there, and he couldn't help himself, so he re-involves himself with certain criminal activities, and he liked to rob big stores and banks and things like that, but not the little guy. He says, that there's like a kind of an ethics, and he says it wasn't about anything really other than it was a gift. He says it was a strange gift. He says, I don't know how to explain this to you, George, but I can go into a place and I just know where the money is. I know where it comes from. I know where it's going. I know where it's held. I know everything. I can't help it. And he said he had after his wife died, he had a girlfriend in Texas, and so he would travel off to Texas and come back. And one day he saw this nice little chapel, and he gets on his knees in the chapel, and he goes, "Dear God, if there is one, please take away my criminal mind." And so he comes back to the reserve, and no, it didn't work. And then the 70s were coming along, in the 70s and 80s, and so, being the good criminal that he was, he decided to learn about, electronic computing and banking and stuff, and boy, did he hit the gold mine. He started moving decimal points around in bank accounts. And he stole electronically, I don't know, he said something like $400,000.
Whoa.
He says, but it wasn't fun. It was too easy.
Whoa.
He said, well, the rush of like robbing a bank or robbing a Safeway or whatever it was that he did. He said, you had to be clever. You didn't use guns. It was you weren't harming anybody. You were robbing the big guys who were robbing us anyway. So there was this kind of mentality involved with it.
Technology even
He
ruined
says,
criminals.
But really, it was the adrenaline rush
Yeah.
that he got off on. He said that was the real thing, right? So then he goes, but I made I was raking it in $400,000, and I got sloppy because subconsciously, and he's telling me himself that he subconsciously wanted to get caught because it just wasn't fun anymore.
That's pretty funny.
And he got caught,
pretty
and he
funny.
owned up for it, and he did his time, and he gave the money back, and
Wow.
and
that's a
this
great
kind of a
story.
thing. And I was reminded of that. Why? What were we?
Technology is ruining the
Right.
world.
So that's where we are now.
Yeah.
So that was 30 years ago that he did that.
Wow.
Right.
Now it'd be easier.
Now, what do you think they're doing to us?
Yeah,
I mean, we are so vulnerable.
I know.
We are so vulnerable in the invasion
Yeah.
of our privacy,
Yeah.
the removal of privacy with these technologies, and this new rollout of this G5 frequency.
But remember,
Standard.
local government, that's what Tom Wheeler said.
Yeah, so
Takes
local,
the cooperation of local government. That's
Right.
why I brought it
Good
up.
to know.
because they're talking about putting a massive amount of cell towers up
Right.
all over the landscape, all
Oh
over the
my.
countryside, rural areas. Everybody has to be exposed to this energy. That's
Wow.
their
Fiona,
goal.
basically what he said was that the new engineering has frequencies that can penetrate through buildings that before weren't able to be
Oh,
penetrated
that's
Yes.
not
through
good.
buildings.
That's not
But
good
the
at
fact
all.
that it has to take the cooperation of local government, that's why I wanted to start on
Mhm.
the foot of healing, to say that if our supervisor indeed did volunteer for the first smart meter, and if he does die of cancer, this is something that I think all future politicians and townspeople should take note of. It can happen to you, no matter how big the dollar signs might be. What are dollar signs compared to life and community?
Wow.
And
That's my hope.
Well, that gets
Yeah.
to what are our values? What are our values as a community if we choose to call ourselves a community? Do we value, do we need more Mayberry or do we need 1984? What do we need more of?
What does the psychic say?
Well, we absolutely need life, and we also need nature. We need to keep the natural world alive. Can't be building up on everything and killing everything that lives just because we want to take over. There's been too much of that. I've been fighting with everyone to keep the wildlife preserved around. It's just ridiculous. Where I live, there was this past summer, there was a mother bear and her 3 cubs, and the supervisor was out there with guns, to shoot the mother bear and her 3 cubs, even though we're living on their territory. Just wanted to
Sure.
get rid of them, and they did. Just because it was inconvenient, because they couldn't bother to put a bear-proof garbage out. And it's been a war. We're living in their environment. So yeah, of course people are going to be building and killing everything they can. And it makes me not really have a lot of faith in humanity anymore, unfortunately. But let's hope that there are people come around.
Are you too emotionally attached to Woodstock, like friends? Can you see it clearly, psychically? What could happen?
I think Woodstock's changing quite a bit since I've been here, and I've been here about 15 years. And I'm not feeling the way I used to about it so much. I'm seeing this, the peace and love right now. It's a little bit just verbal. It's just verbal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not action. It's just
Come
words.
to a producers meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had some of the most loving meetings here.
Yeah,
really.
I need to come to something where the love is really evident, because I'm becoming a little bit hard-edged here. Yeah, and I don't want that, because when I came here, I was a very fairy-like. I was very open and sparkly, and I don't think I am that anymore. I've seen too much,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Well, that can happen, just living life. You get
Living
to
life, you see
the
stuff.
older you get, the more you see. And if you can manage to keep your marbles together, the more you learn. You get wisdom. And I think that's part of this intense frequency.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's intense.
It's a weaponry, really.
It's intense, and when a person has, when their whole life is based on feeling, like basically my whole life is based on intuition and empathy, and if I feel for everything and everyone around me, and what they're feeling, it gets overwhelming to the point that sometimes I don't even want to come out of my house because it's too much out there. Yeah. Whether it's the good stuff and the bad stuff and all of it together, it's too much, and I like to think that we could all join hands and sing Kumbaya and all that, but I haven't seen that in a very long time happening around. Let's see what happens. Maybe something will change.
Yeah, it's a good thought. It's a very good thought. Keeping an avenue open to that thought.
Oh, it's possible. There's hope. Idea. There's always hope. There's good people around. As long as there's good people around, there's good places around. It's not all tarnished.
Well, the good news is that there is good news. It's not all bad.
There is good news. There is good news. There is good news, and there's good thoughts out there, and there's good intentions. And
there's remedies. Mm-hmm. And I believe that there is a remedy for every condition.
Yeah, that's a principle of law.
That's really good.
There's
like that,
for every condition there is a remedy.
There is a remedy like that.
And part of the work though is you have to find it, and then exercise it.
You're right.
Really. Well, we killed an hour almost.
Wow.
Last 3 minutes. Do you have any? Do you want to?
Well, I think it's been really great talking to you, George. I knew you were cool, but you're really awesome.
Oh, thanks.
And I think that we're on the same wavelength. We definitely both wake up at the same time.
Right?
In a very strange manner. And let's see how many other people are doing that same weird 6:30 complete high anxiety that's going on.
So since you're a Woodstocker and a Woodstock business owner, why don't you, in the last few minutes here, tell everybody where your store is?
Okay, my shop is called Fiona. It's on Elwyn. It's 5 Elwyn Lane. It's is it Lane? Yes, I guess it's right next to Woodstock, and it's a little boutique. But in there, I do readings, but by appointment only. Okay. So I'm right. It's really cool. It has big. It's number 5, and and I'm just there. I used to be the White Griffin, but that closed.
Okay, and
my book is called The Reluctant Psychic. It's a memoir, and it's available in the Golden Notebook. But the hardcovers I have in my shop, and I also sell them on my website.
And you're by the laundromat, right?
I'm right between the laundromat and Woodstock, and I love Woodstock because I get to see all the dogs coming and go, and dogs are always welcome in my store.
And does Mirabai have you?
Yes,
there?
Mirabai has it.
Golden Notebook?
You're right. Golden Notebook and Mirabai both carry it.
All right, so those are our bookstores here in Woodstock.
Yeah, they've been awesome with me. They've been absolutely awesome, and it's been quite the ride for me.
So that's your vision for Woodstock, is to bring the peace, love, and togetherness back.
Let's try. Let's try
that. Make an effort.
Make an effort that it's not just words anymore. That it's actually a reality.
In thought, and deed, and action.
That the tie-dyes are not uniforms. That the tie-dyes actually become something meaningful rather than just something that people wear and meaningless.
Yeah.
Peace and love.
Yeah.
Real peace and love.
Well, thanks, Fiona, for coming out and sharing with us tonight, and as a well wish for Jeremy Wolber, as a heartfelt well wishes for you, and we from Woodstock TV, we really wish you the best and healing and that really is a loving statement. And thank you for watching the Conant Show, and we'll see you next week as we go on through the journey of life.